Fresh talks on Ukraine are underway in Geneva as the US insists it authored the controversial 28-point peace plan on ending Moscow's war against Kyiv.
As peace talks are underway in Geneva, Ursula von der Leyen urged that Ukraine must have the freedom to choose its own destiny.
Delegations from the US, Ukraine, and its European allies began to arrive in Geneva on Sunday for further discussions on the conflict in Ukraine, following US President Donald Trump's 28-point peace plan that calls on Ukraine to give up some of its land and reduce the size of its military forces. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff are leading the U.S. delegation meeting with Ukraine's senior government officials. The European Union will also participate in the Geneva talks, along with national security advisors from the group of countries known as the E3, France, the United Kingdom, and Germany. The talks come as a widely leaked 28-point US-backed peace plan, which the White House says is the result of a month-long work, sparks controversy and a pushback from the EU. Speaking to reporters at the White House on Saturday, Trump said the U.S. proposal was not his final offer.
In a statement, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said Ukraine must have the freedom and sovereign right to choose its own destiny. The message comes as Ukrainian, EU and top US officials are meeting in Geneva on Sunday to discuss Ukraine's peace plan. As von der Leyen announced the three elements the bloc has agreed upon to ensure a lasting peace and Ukraine's sovereignty.
Borders cannot be changed by force. Second, as a sovereign nation, there cannot be limitations on Ukraine's armed forces that would leave the country vulnerable to future attack and thereby also undermining European security. Third, the centrality of the European Union in securing peace for Ukraine must be fully reflected.
On Saturday, Western allies worked to revise the US peace plan, which they believe leans too much in Moscow's favor.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa declared the G20 summit in Johannesburg closed on Sunday with a glaring absence of the United States, the next country to lead the bloc after the Trump administration boycotted the two-day talks.
To the next president of the G20, which is the United States.
Banging a wooden gavel on a block like a judge would in a G20 tradition, Ramaphosa was to hand over to the leader of the country to hold the rotating presidency, but no U.S. official was there to receive it. The White House said it had made a last-minute decision for an official from its embassy in South Africa to attend the G20 handover, but South Africa refused that, saying it was an insult for Ramaphosa to hand over to a junior embassy official. In the end, no U.S. delegation was accredited for the summit. The G20, the first to be held in Africa, broke with tradition by issuing a leader's declaration on the opening day of the talks, when declarations usually come at the end of the summit.
Business activity in the Eurozone held firm in November, building on the solid pace of growth recorded last month. October's figures reflected the largest expansion in Eurozone activity in over 2 years, largely thanks to continued resilience in the services sector. The Flash Purchasing Managers Index, known as PMI, released on Thursday by ratings and intelligence agency S&P Global, fell marginally from 52.5 recorded in October to 52.4 this month, in line with expectations. The services sector remained the key driver of growth, with activity rising to 53.1, its highest level since May 2024, defying forecasts of a modest slowdown. Manufacturing, by contrast, lost momentum, with the PMI slipping to 49.7, its weakest reading in 5 months. This could be attributed to the sharp rise in input costs for businesses, possibly driven by higher tariffs and the rising electricity costs, according to data collected in a recent survey. Despite the steady growth, however, the pace of new orders at European businesses slightly softened in the month of November, as weakness in external demand persists.